6 o'clock in the morning, I'm in Warwick Avenue, and I haven't got a clue what I'm doing.
So as I roll into Paddington Station, it's looking good. There's not many taxis there at all, but not much work there either.
I mean, it never looks good when you see cabbies standing outside their cabs, right?
To give you some context, I've probably worked a morning shift about, well, less than I can count on one hand. But how bad could mornings be? Quite a lot of taxis roll in and join this rank, but still not really any sign of movement. Not even any of my taxi apps or some of the WhatsApp groups I'm in were going off. I honestly felt like there was just no work whatsoever. And almost 30 minutes after first joining the rank, I get my first job of the day. Gentleman jumps in and just says Hilton Holland Park. Now, it's called the Hilton Kensington, but I know exactly where he means, right near the Holland Park roundabout as you head out to Westfield. From here, it's a super simple run. You just turn left out onto Bishopsbridge Road, forward that through into Westbourne Grove, bear that round Pembridge Villas, forward into Pembridge Road, and I'm just going to cut up a little bit of Kensington Park Road here so I can cut out the lights at Notting Hill Gate. Obviously, this time of day there's not much traffic about, but it's just nice to be able to cut a little bit of traffic lights here and there. On the drive to the Hilton, I'm thinking maybe I could rank there, because another popular option is to rank at hotels. Maybe you can get airport jobs or jobs going to stations. But as I turn up, there's already a cab there, and another cab joins very quickly behind me. I honestly have no idea where to go, so I'm thinking I'm just going to head back to the Paddington direction. Stations are going to be my saviour, I think. And astonishingly, I get this hand go on Holland Park Avenue. The person who hailed me almost looks as astonished as I do, and wants to go back to Paddington. As I've just done this route, there is no other way really to do it, I just reverse what I've just done. Dropping the gentleman off there just before 7 o'clock. Nice. So I've already done 2 jobs within this hour. I'm feeling we could get off to a good start here. When I drop at Paddington, there's considerably more taxi ranking there. So I think, you know what, let's go for a little bit of a hunt. I don't think it's going to be too good. Will I even make any money? Well, be sure to stay tuned to the very end. Hunting along the Marylebone Road, Euston, and cutting into the Bloomsbury area, I cut my losses and join another taxi rank, Euston. The issue is that I like driving around in the cab, like just endlessly kind of driving. Ranking I'll only do if I know that rank's moving, but in the morning there's not really the option to drive round to find work, because let's face it, who's walking around on the streets at 7 in the morning? Now, I joined the taxi rank on the left-hand side of these 2 lanes. Some taxi ranks can be super confusing, but the key is to try and find out which taxi is in front of you. If you followed a taxi into the station, well, it's pretty easy. You just remember that number plate in front of you. But I know it's either going to be someone in the right-hand lane or in the left-hand lane. That's physically the only way it can work. I made a video about how this taxi rank and some other ones in London work over here. It seems a lot more sociable. There's more drivers kind of just getting out and milling around their cabs, having a bit of a chat. Maybe because it just moves a bit slower. I don't know. Maybe because it's mornings. Who knows? But there's definitely some drivers that I've not seen out because I don't work this shift pattern. I finally get a job here off of Euston at 10 to 8. An hour after I dropped my last job. This gentleman just wants to go to Berners Street. It's not a long job, but it's a job at the end of the day. So I go forward over into Gordon Street and we get right into Gower Place. So I can tuck neatly left into Gower Street and get a right into Grafton Way. What I want to do is I want to drop in via the Good Street area. So I go Grafton Way and then we go left down into Charlotte Street and we'll turn right at Good Street, right by the legendary establishment that is Ico Pizza. Now, I actually missed the turning that I need, which is Newman Street. I skipped past there and I just apologised to the gentleman, and he's absolutely fine to be dropped here at the very top corner of Berners and Mortimer Street. As soon as I drop him off, one of my taxi apps goes off. And because it was an hour between the end of one job and starting the next one, I'm thinking, best take the work whilst it's guaranteed. And it's starting from Park Square East. Park Square East, there's this little square in the southeastern corner of Regent's Park. And of course, this is on the eastern side of it. This is just a school run job. And I completely forgot about school runs. That's obviously going to save my bacon here. This carer and the kids just want to go to Russell Square. these are different kind of routes. I'm having to really think about how to best complete some of these. So to do this, I'm just going to get a left out of Park Square East, along to the Marylebone Road, and I'm going to peel left onto that little slip road by the Euston Underpass. We want to go over, because I want to get myself to Gower Street. What I'm thinking is we're going to get into Russell Square by going around the back of the British Museum. So you go down Gower Street, left at the School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, that's Keppel Street, and we do a right into Montague Place, Montague Street, something like that, and then we wiggle our way around and bosh. Throughout this shift so far, I'm really feeling like a bit of an imposter. I feel like one of my passengers is going to call me out and be like, "You don't normally work mornings, do you?" It's so weird, like that kind of groove that I have from working evenings just doesn't translate over to the mornings. I literally feel like I could be in a different city from London. That's how difficult this is for me. It's 20 past 8 and some of the intel's flowing through on the WhatsApp group. Just after 20 past 8 and I get straight into the rank here, and I have this gentleman who wishes to go to Jermyn Street. Super easy, we're just going to get back onto Gower Street and just take the map line, really. My main observation as well with the mornings is that there's a lot more cyclists. I'm wondering if cyclists are kind of more concentrated to a particular hour in the morning, but then in the evening it's a bit more fragmented as people kind of finish work days differently. Straight along Shaftesbury Avenue, Cambridge Circus, Shaftesbury Avenue, take a left down into the Haymarket, come around the bottom of Charles II Street, right into Regent Street, St James's, and forward up into Regent Street, and we'll just set the gentleman there. 20 to 9, and I'm honestly quite surprised with the traffic conditions so far. One of the reasons I generally don't work days, other than it being very difficult to get into town in the morning rush hour, is that I was of the belief that daytime traffic is pretty bad. But it's all going pretty well so far. And my old habits die hard. Because I'm so like central Piccadilly Circus, my brain is just like, yeah, let's just go for a drive. Let's just see who's on the streets. And maybe that's the right idea, because there is a lot of hotels around here in Mayfair, St James's area. But it doesn't really work for me.
Oh, I just missed out there, lovely.
Something that is going to make this shift a little bit more manageable and reliable is Y-Food. Y-Food are a complete ready-to-drink meal replacement shake. They come in a huge range of flavours. Today I'm rocking one of their classic flavours, which is Classic Choco, part of their standard saver pack. I always carry these with me. Today it's going to fit very nicely as a breakfast because, you know, working days, I don't know necessarily where the best places to go are, where the best places to stop, what parking conditions may be like, even if there's more overzealous traffic wardens. So by carrying one of these in my bag, in the cab, they're ready to go at a moment's notice. What I love about Y-Food is there's a huge amount of protein in every bottle. There's 34 grams in this one bottle alone. Now, as a regular exclusive for you guys, the viewers of this channel, Y-Food are offering 10% off site-wide. You just use my link in the description down below, or the unique code, which is taxi-YouTube. I highly recommend the saver packs because you get a good variety of flavours, but also cold brew coffee as well. That is probably my favourite one. I'm thinking I've got to get to a station. From here, it's either going to be Victoria or Waterloo. Let me finish this and I'll go to Victoria, Waterloo via some hotels, hopefully.
We go past Annabelle's. They're putting up their Christmas decorations by the looks of it. Just after 9 o'clock here at Marlborough Gate, I observed this bloke who is entirely naked, head to toe. I go through Parliament Square, set myself up for Bridge Street, which will get us over Westminster Bridge. Now, cab in front actually misses this hail on the north side of the street here, right by the St Stephen's pub. Luckily, I'm right behind, I managed to catch it, and this lady just wants to go to St Thomas's Hospital. Now, St Thomas's Hospital is just over Westminster Bridge, and she's got some crutches in her hand. She was struggling to hail the taxi and struggling to get in, so I already know as soon as she gets in, this is going to be a freebie. I mean, let's face it, I was going to Waterloo anyway. Short job like that, she had a real nice smile on her face, bosh. Down Lambeth Palace Road a little bit, and in at this little entrance here. I'm not going to lie, I was bricking it a little bit because I've heard of some drivers that were getting tickets for dropping off here at St Thomas's Hospital. But following it round, there is a little bit that says taxi drop off, so you would like to think you can drop off in a taxi and not get fined for it. maybe those other drivers were dropping off in less than optimum locations.
Oh, no, don't worry about it, madam, that's fine, have that on me. That's alright. No worries.
Luckily, it's all good. And now, as I'm right by it, let's head to Waterloo. 9:20 at this point, and there's a nice queue of punters here. Touch. Gentleman gets in and just says, can we go to Beaufort House, Chelsea? It's on the King's Road. As soon as he gets in, he goes, do you know how long that'll be, driver? I'm probably the worst person to ask this. Like, he's probably more qualified to answer this question than me. I could probably think about the times on one hand that I've been in London at this time to even try and ascertain what the traffic conditions are like, let alone this very specific route from Waterloo to Chelsea, which I've not done at this time in ever. I mean, he was all right in the end. I think he just wanted like just a rough guesstimation. Quick tip. Most places in London, unless you're doing like really big stuff across the map and going really out into the suburbs, you can generally do in about 20 minutes. Never exactly bang on, so it gives me a bit of a variance. If it's quicker, good news. If it's like 22, 23 minutes, still about 20 minutes, isn't it? So the route for me is pretty simple. Come out onto Westminster Bridge Road, down Lambeth Palace Road, around Lambeth Circus and over Lambeth Bridge. One of the shortest bridges in London, by the way, so it makes the river crossing super easy. We're going to get a left on the Millbank, go past Millbank Tower. That was the tallest office block in London before the BT Tower was built. Bang it all the way around Grosvenor Road, and we're going to use that bit of like the Chelsea embankment around the bottom there. This is because of how far along the King's Road it is. If it was kind of near like the start of Chelsea and Sloane Square, then yeah, I'd probably come up at some point here. Super lucky that as I drop off, one of the taxi apps goes off and says that there's nearby work. It's a job going from Fulham Road over to the Design Museum. Now, as soon as I start making my way to this app job, the lady actually starts calling me, and she's in a bit of a flap because there's kind of roadworks at the junction of like Fulham Road and Drayton Gardens. So I just say, look, come meet me over here at Elm Park Gardens, and that already starts us off on the route. I'm just thinking, look, the Design Museum is just in that direction. Let's just wiggle through some streets to kind of get my way there. And it's one of the fun things about being a cab driver is that I haven't got to have like a defined or a set route. Sometimes there's multiple opportunities and you think, right, if that one doesn't work, I'll go that way. If I do this, you know, there's often a plan A, B, C and D. In this case, I'm just trying to avoid as many traffic lights, and if I'm seeing a bit of traffic up ahead, I can just take an adjacent street and skip round it. Honestly, I can't, without looking back at the footage, I can't actually remember what I did, because looking at the streets, there's too many of them. She's kind of in her own little world in the back of the cab, just doing the makeup and stuff like that. Presumably just meeting a friend at the Design Museum, and she just says, oh, we're here already, are we? You know, just a quick 11-minute job through from Fulham up to Kensington. I'm finally hoping that there's going to be some activity on the streets. London must have come alive at this point. So I head along Kensington High Street, just wanting to get myself back to the kind of West Endy, Piccadilly area really. And I have this lady hail me outside the Royal Garden Hotel. And she just wishes to go to the Carlton Club. Now, it's a Thursday, and it's in winter times, so I know there is no changing of the guard on. But I'm still thinking, do I want to go Piccadilly or Constitution Hill? It's pretty much like a straight line if I went the Piccadilly route and you just turn right into St James's Street and it's on the west side there. But the thing that gives me a little bit more food for thought is the fact that the Piccadilly underpass eastbound was shut. So I've got to come out over the top of Hyde Park Corner anyway. I actually look over into Constitution Hill and I can actually see a line of horses that have come from the Hyde Park Barracks, which is what we would have just driven past, going down Constitution Hill. Now these are the horse guards that are stationed on Whitehall. They don't shut the roads for this, but I can see there is a bit of traffic building up in that Hyde Park Corner area. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go straight all the way through Piccadilly on this one. She just wants me just to confirm exactly where the Carlton Club is. I find a safe place to stop and I let her know exactly where. As I drop off, there is an app job instantly from the Duke's Hotel right here. Well, Duke's Hotel is just on St James's Place. Also, with some hotels, you've got to kind of be right on top of them because the concierges get quite impatient. If another cab comes in and drop off, they'll just load that passenger into that taxi. So it's 10:30 at this point and I have this suited gentleman come up to my cab and Asked me how long I'm going to be. What's going on here? And it turns out he lets me know that he's undercover police and something must be going on in this area. Who knows? But I just say, look, I'm just picking up a passenger from the Duke's Hotel. Just leaves me be. Absolutely fine. The concierge eventually loads him up and I get a couple of wonderful ladies from California who wish to go to Houston. In terms of my route, we're set up perfectly on St James's Street and I'm going to wiggle through the back of Mayfair a little bit so I can avoid Regent Street. I'm going to use St George Street. Now to do that, I kind of do have to go up and down on myself with this little bit here of Old Bond Street. Wiggle through Cork, Clifford, Savile Row, Conduit Street, right St George Street, forward up into Hanover Square. It neatly cuts out Regent Street, which is just always not that good. Around Cavendish Square, left, and then a right round the back of the Langham Hotel, and that pulls us out onto Langham Place. As I look up Portland Place, I can see I've just missed the timing of the lights, and also there's quite a bit of traffic. So I opt to use Hallam Street. Love this, it just sort of runs parallel, cuts out the lights. The only issue with running Hallam Street is you've got to come out to Great Portland Street and you've got to wiggle round the top, right by the Melia White House Hotel. Euston Road, underpass just looks clear. Left into Melton Street and drop the passengers there. Nice. It is probably one of my longer jobs of the day, taking about 32 minutes. But I'm super thankful that I'm straight to another station. I mean, dropping stations is epic because it just minimises your downtime, especially as we're approaching midday traffic, and it might take you 15 minutes just to get out of somewhere to actually get to a point where you can pick someone up. I know from actually going back round to the beginning again that I'm either behind this American Express cab on the right or the blue TX4 in front. Now, it doesn't take long at all before I eventually get this passenger who wishes to go to the V&A. Nice, another long job to sort my day out. Now, it's a little bit of chaos getting out the rank. This is mainly because the phasing of the traffic lights on Melton Street doesn't allow many cabs out. Basically, I want to get to the West Carriage Drive of Hyde Park, because once you're in the West Carriage Drive, you just drop out the bottom of it into Exhibition Road and bosh, there's your V&A museum. Old Marylebone Road is shut, so we're going to come in at Seymour Place. We're going to get ourselves into George Street, which forwards us over into Kendall Street. Right Hyde Park Square, and we do that little wiggle into Brook Street, that's it. Hyde Park Square, Strathern Place, Stanhope Terrace, left Brook Street, and that sets us up forward into Hyde Park. We're still following that blue cab at this point. It's kind of reassuring sometimes when you're on a route and you're following other cabs that are doing the same route. Obviously, I don't know where he's going, but the fact we've come this far, so far to get to this point, for some reason, it's super heavy on the West Carriage Drive going south. Normally going south is one of the better ways of getting out because the lights going south are just easier, and it's northbound I have more of a problem with. It takes 14 minutes to get through the park, so it is definitely the worst bit of the journey. And it's always super annoying when the worst bit is right near the end of the journey, because it's kind of like passenger expectations, like they kind of remember that, it sticks to them longer, whereas if it was bad getting out of Euston and then it flows well after that, I don't know, it's kind of a perception thing, right? So I dropped the lady here on Exhibition Road, and what are the chances that the cab in front has come to the V&A also? I let the passenger know, but I don't think she seems too impressed. It would have been nice because it would have been a money saver for her, but we're here now, it's all good. Now, as the Green Huts are open at this time, I make full use of the fact of grabbing a really nice coffee from Luba's Green Hut here. She does proper nice espresso, so do pop into these whenever you're in town. Members of the public can get takeaway from any of these. They're generally open from like 7 till 2, I think. So being firmly midday, nice chance to do so.
I've managed to keep busy somehow. Possibly luck because I've been sort of going to stations or been near stations. Will I change the days? I don't know. I'll have to think about it, but it's something quite nice. Not even 12 o'clock yet, and I'm sort of nearly done. I don't know, I might finish around 2-ish. Could just stay late, you know? It's my own work at the end of the day. The greatest thing about the job. Really weird because it's the first time in ever where I actually felt like I had a job, like today, like waking up for a certain time to come to work. that was tough. And then I realised I chose this. Like, I came to work. That's the best thing about this job. Anyone who wants to get into this trade, you do it on your own terms. I can go home now. I can stay for a bit longer. Whatever.
Driving away from that, I had this lady hail me down at the Zigzags by the Royal Albert Hall. She just wants to go to like the junction of Lounge Street and Chesham Place. Super nice lady, real easy run. We just run it all the way past the barracks, get ourselves right into Sloane Street, left into Cadogan Square, right into Lounge Street, and setting down the left there just by the Egyptian, it's either a high commission or an embassy, but there basically. Now, this is where it gets really bad for me. I then proceed to be empty for 45 minutes. Yeah, it's one of the things that sucks most in the cab. It's almost like you can't breathe. Like, you're trying to look for a job and you're just so concentrated on getting a job, but you've got to kind of drive around and just keep persevering. And you feel like, am I doing this right? Like, you're driving around the areas that you know you can get jobs from, and you're doubting yourself, like, oh, should I be driving this way? Should I be doing that? I tried Duke Street to try get on the side door of Selfridges, but that was banged out of cabs. And it's the reason why it's quite hard to say, like, oh, how much do cabbies earn an hour? Because, well, look, 45 minutes, I might as well write this hour off. I'm not really earning anything this hour. Before coming back down Harley Street and finally getting a job there.
Thank you. That's your data. Jesus Christ. That took forever.
Nice. Now, Gent just wants to go to somewhere called the Homegrown Club. Never heard of it, but he lets me know that it's on the corner of Upper Bartley Street and Great Cumberland Place. So first off, you've got to get off Harley Street, because if I go all the way down, that's going to force us around Cavendish Square, and we don't want that. So we wiggle across left Welbeck Street, and I'm going to use Bentick Street here. This just allows me to not go all the way down to Wigmore Street, because I find that constant light after light after light is quite slow. It's almost sometimes worse than Oxford Street. So I'm going to use Bentick Street, go forward into Hine Street, round Manchester Square, up a little bit, up Manchester Street. You can cut over the top of Portman Square, because Portman Square has like a one-way bit on the very north bit of it, and we need Upper Berkeley Street, which is on the other side of it. We go above, down Gloucester Place, right into Upper Berkeley Street, and then, yeah, I can set the gentleman somewhere there.
Oof, right, that worked.
26 minutes before I get my next job, and that's here at Trafalgar Square. It's always the way it goes. Right as the lights turn green, at the worst of the locations, they will hail you down. So, Doubletree, Hilton, King's Cross, Angel, Pentonville Road. N1. Think I know that one. This one threw me before. Remember we done this on a previous video? Up the east side of Trafalgar Square, St Martin's Place, Charing Cross Road, and we're going to do a right at Cambridge Circus into Shaftesbury Avenue. What I really want to try and get ourselves set up for, if you work this route backwards, is Amwell Street. And how do I get to Amwell Street? Well, I need Rosebery Avenue. How am I going to get Rosebery Avenue? Well, I need Clerkenwell Road. Shaftesbury Avenue, High Holborn, left Museum Street, right Bloomsbury Way, forward Bloomsbury Square, forward Vernon Place, Theobald Road, Clerkenwell Road. We bear left up Rosebery Avenue, and that allows us to get the left into Amwell Street and go past that wonderful establishment of Johnny Schnitzel, but I'm already full today, otherwise I would have gone in there. And then turn right into Pentonville Road and drop them there. Sweet. And it's at this point I'm feeling like going home, but my mate phones me up, you know, the guy that I would usually work evenings with. And you have a bit of a natter, you know, most taxi drivers will have another taxi driver, they can just sort of, I don't know, just make the job less lonely, really. But knowing that he's coming in to start my shift and I'm kind of finishing my shift, well, A, it feels good because I've already done a day's work and he's now got to go do a day's work. But also, I sort of want to do a little bit more because it's like the eagerness that he's starting his shift and I can stay out and do a few more jobs. So I do just that. Working my way down the Clerkenwell Road, just outside of Brewdog, here on Clerkenwell Road. These couple of gents just want to go to New Change. I'm probably going to stop using Long Lane Smithfield because it's one of those areas of London that, irregardless of the traffic conditions around it, it kind of builds its own kind of traffic conditions, its own black spot. Eventually we get our right into Aldersgate Street, go down by the Rotunda, leave that by St Martin's Le Grand, and we go forward over into New Change, dropping them there. Nice, another job here. Now, I'm thinking I really do want to get home at some point, because at the end of the day, I left my house at 5 this morning. Yes, 5 o'clock. So it's quite a long day already. So I'm thinking if I could just get one that would take me up to the Marylebone Road area. I mean, if I could somehow get a job to Marylebone Station, even Euston Station, anything like that. And one of the taxi apps goes off. It's from Gray's Inn Road to Paddington Station. What a touch. Fastest finger first, my finger couldn't hit that button fast enough. It's a little bit of a tricky pickup because of what Camden has done with this whole Gray's Inn Road area. They're coming out of one of these mansions with a lot of cases, but the nearest place I can pick them up from is here on Elm Street. I helped them in with their cases. They asked me the most delightful of questions. Driver, how much is it to Heathrow Airport? I said, you know, it's about £85 to £90. By the time they've, you know, paid for a taxi to get them to Paddington Station, probably thereabouts can be about 20 quid. They've got all their cases to deal with. And then if they want to get the Heathrow Express, that's about 25 quid a ticket. So very quickly, you kind of might as well just get a cab to Heathrow, just be one journey all the way there. So they accept and say, yep, take us to Terminal 5, please, driver. Not just any terminal, that last little one, the one you got to go around the M25 a little bit to get to it. Terminal 5, touch. That job where I took that lady from Bridge Street over to St Thomas's Hospital and didn't take any payment for it. Well, maybe that's cabbie karma coming back round to me, and that's why I got the job to Heathrow. Driving a taxi is a lot of luck. And look, had I gone home just after that Pentonville Road job, I would have been about £100 lighter. So it's amazing how one job can turn around your day, but you can't always guarantee it. The journey to Heathrow was about an hour and a half. Go around the Hammersmith Gyratory, out onto the A4. Comply by the Hogarth roundabout and then head out on the M4. There was a broken down car on the elevated M4, but there's not really much you can do about it because this is like the main route to get to Heathrow. Because Terminal 5 has its own spur road that leads into the terminal, the quickest way of doing it is to go around the M25 and dropping in. The issue is the M25. So en route, it's always worth checking what that little stretch of M25 is doing. Because if it's at a standstill, your passengers aren't going to be too pleased when you've just taken them to a car park and you've just got stuck there. So worth checking whether you use the perimeter road or if you go on the M25. It's clear, we get them in, drop them off, get paid, bosh, I'm going home.
That's how you end a shift. I mean, that doesn't get any luckier than that.
Will I ever work days again? Probably not. Do you want to see what most of my shifts look like? Well, I'll leave those over here, including that time I worked New Year's Eve.